All right, the world has gone crazy.
Tariff charged to China by the United States to 125% effective immediately.
Of 125%.
To 125, except not really. The White House clarifying it's actually 145%.
Trump hiked tariffs on Chinese goods to 145%.
Even higher, 145% now.
145%.
And one of our favorite tool retailers, Harbor Freight, might be in for a rough ride. The reason for this is the massive tariffs that have just been put on Chinese imports.
There'll be a transition cost and transition problems.
If you have ever scored a budget-friendly tool from Harbor Freight, chances are it came straight from a Chinese factory. And now that lifeline is about to get a lot more expensive.
The White House clarified on Thursday that imported Chinese goods will now face a 145% tax.
Okay, let's break this down. Harbor Freight is known best for one thing, and that is affordable tools.
Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
It's the go-to for DIYers, shade tree mechanics, and pros who want decent gear without breaking the bank. The secret to those low prices is Chinese manufacturing. It's pretty common knowledge that Harbor Freight sources a massive amount of its inventory directly from China. That, coupled with having very few middlemen, is how they keep their prices so low.
How do we do it? We've managed to cut out the middleman.
Now, to be fair, I did spend a few hours in my local Harbor Freight checking labels to make sure they hadn't suddenly changed their business model. And I'm sure you're not going to be surprised by what I found. Almost everything is made in China. I did say almost because I did spot a few items from Vietnam, but honestly, it shocked me when I found anything that wasn't made in China. It's like Easter egg hunting. Like 1 out of 10 hand tools are made in Taiwan. Less than that, but let's call it 1 out of 10. Nothing else that I've found in the store at all. Just 1 out of 10 random hand tools. So here's the problem. New tariffs are being slapped on Chinese imports, especially tools, machinery, and metal goods, aka Harbor Freight's bread and butter. And we're talking massive increases. This means higher prices for Harbor Freight, slimmer profit margins, or they pass that cost on to you, the customer.
What does this mean for prices that you will pay? How soon are you going to say, oh, that costs more than it cost a week ago?
So I think weeks.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Harbor Freight isn't the only brand sourcing from China.
Well, what about Home Depot? What about Lowe's? What about Ace? What about Stanley Black & Decker? What are all these companies that make their tools in China?
And let me address this. Major tool companies like Milwaukee, DeWalt, Ryobi, Rigid, Cobalt, and all of the others also have deep ties to Chinese manufacturing. The key difference is they're diversified. Milwaukee and Ryobi are owned by Tektronic Industries, or TTI, a Hong Kong-based powerhouse with factories in China, Vietnam, and the United States. DeWalt and Craftsman under Stanley Black & Decker have already shifted some production to Mexico and the United States. Cobalt and Rigid, tied to Chevron and Emerson, both have multiple global production sites. I could keep going, but I think you get the point. While tariffs hit everyone, major brands have options. They can pivot, they can absorb some of the cost, or even shift production to another country. And this is where things get interesting. If a product is made in China, but then transformed significantly in another country, like Germany, Vietnam, or Mexico, it may legally avoid being labeled as a Chinese import. This is called country of origin shifting.
Chinese companies, if they import directly into the United States, they are faced with tariffs. If they bring their goods into Mexico and those goods are improved upon or some value added to them, they then qualify for the USMCA.
And US Customs allows for it if the transformation is significant, meaning it takes on a new identity. If it's just assembly, like snapping parts together, it's still considered a product made in China and it's hit with a tariff.
What you have to do to have a product that's labeled Mexican as opposed to Chinese in origin, you have to substantially transform it, which means it has to become a different product.
And this isn't just a theory. It's something all major tool manufacturers have been doing. They're actively shifting operations all around the world, including building factories just south of the border in Mexico.
Estimated $3.7 billion of Chinese foreign direct investments was made in Mexico in 2023.
The problem is, from the research I've done, it doesn't look like Harbor Freight has made that same strategic move. Most of their products are still deeply tied to Chinese manufacturing. Now, don't get me wrong, the US tariff machine knows this is going on, and I won't be surprised if they start cracking down on it at some point.
It's the non-tariff
cheating that matters. Let's do Vietnam, Joe. They sell us $15. About $5 of that 15 is China transshipping to Vietnam to evade their tariffs.
But for now, it is still a legal and effective strategy. And that's why these bigger brands with flexible global operations are in a much better position to ride this out. So what happens next? Well, this is where things get tough. If Harbor Freight raises prices, they risk losing the budget-friendly crowd that made them famous in the first place. If they don't raise prices, their profit margins are going to get crushed. And they don't exactly have a ton of other options, with their supply chain being tied almost entirely to the country that is now getting smashed with tariffs. Meanwhile, their competitors have more flexibility with better global supply chains. Harbor Freight's kind of stuck. To be fair, Harbor Freight isn't totally helpless. They could try shifting manufacturing to countries like Vietnam or Taiwan or Mexico. But here's the thing, those types of changes take time and money, and we don't exactly know how much of either they have. You see, Harbor Freight is a private company. That means we don't have access to their financials. No earnings reports, no profit margins, nothing. So the question is, can they survive this storm? It's hard to say, but there are clues. Let's take a look at the company's founder, Eric Schmidt. His mansion in Beverly Hills is worth over $100 million and is one of the most expensive homes in California.
The Noah estate has got to be the most expensive house in Beverly Hills. Mansion, and then holy moly, mother of God, this is a monstrosity of a house. If they put it on the market today and it sold, it would be the most expensive single-family house sale in the country.
He was able to get there by running the fastest growing retailer in the United States. You don't build an empire like that by running a failing business. So there's a pretty good chance that Harbor Freight is highly profitable and has the financial cushion it needs to ride this out, at least long enough to wait for a break in the tariffs or to slowly pivot manufacturing like the big players. So now for the big question, what does this mean for you, the shopper? Well, if you're a Harbor Freight fan, you might notice fewer coupons, higher prices, or tools quietly disappearing from the shelves. It's not panic mode yet, but this could be the biggest challenge Harbor Freight has faced since its explosive growth. And maybe this is the wake-up call they need. One of the most common criticisms of Harbor Freight is its inconsistent quality. If they want to survive the tariff storm, now is the time to level up, improve quality, diversify, and prove that they can compete on more than just price. So, is this the beginning of the end for Harbor Freight? My take, probably not. But it is the beginning of a new era, one where prices may rise, loyalty might be tested, and where even the most budget-friendly brand may have to evolve. Because if they don't, the company once called the fastest growing retailer in the country could be staring down the barrel of total and catastrophic collapse. My voice is shot, the video's over.